What's your sign? What's your sign, baby? What's your sign? What's your sign?
Welcome to What's Your Sign? I'm Julia Loken.
I'm Stevie Goldstein.
And I'm the summer vacation of this podcast.
Yes.
Vacation, all she ever wanted.
Tell me about your trips, ladies.
Oh.
Well.
I'm like, Beyonce?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, okay. I can start. Beyonce, incredible. The artist of our lifetime. If you got to see Beyonce, good job, everybody. You made the right decision. It's been stadium tour summer, as we've seen from the ladies. I know the Swifties were having that's what also got me inspo. I was seeing all the Swifties having a lot of fun earlier in the year, and I was like, do I need to get in on my own version of this? But wild story. Becca, shout out to Becca, listener of the pod. I got a DM from a signer that said, would you like to buy these tickets that are closer? I am not a scam. And I was like, we made sure. And this was on day one of Virgo season, day one of Mercury Retrograde, like hour one of Mercury Retrograde. And I was toying around with going to Vegas to see Beyonce. And I was like, I can't. I'm leaning so hard into my projector human design. I'm like, I'm waiting for the invitation. I'm not doing anything this summer I'm not invited to. And then that was being invited to do something. So I was like, So then I messaged my sweet friend Wendy, who lives on the West Coast, past pod guest, and I was like, yo, can you come? Because I'm like, if I was gonna go, I want to go with my girl. And she's like, I'm moving this weekend. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I was also looking for any reason to like not go in a way. And then she like convinced me. And I was like, fuck, it's on. Like, we're doing it. So just 24-hour rendezvous, flew out the same day of concerts. Like, this is Mercury retrograde working with, like, hey, I was already like, if I'm delayed, this concert doesn't start till 9 p.m. I will be in Las Vegas by 9 p.m. tonight. Like, it's happening. Weather looked good. We're going. It's hot. Let's go. I mean, literal land, get to hotel, put on the fucking silver and chrome, get your ass. And if you have to see a stadium show, I highly recommend Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. You just get more bang for your buck, a baller experience. We were in the Twitch lounge, which is just hilarious to me.
Hell yeah.
I'm twitching up in here in the Twitch lounge. It was so good. Beyonce just gave a show that was beyond a concert. She gave us movies. Like, I'm ready to see the cinematic experience of the show. A little peek behind when we're recording. I just saw all the Los Angeles show last night for her birthday, and like, she's just so beautiful and such a beautiful singer. I just love her. Like, Jay-Z's such a lucky man. Like, that's what I kept thinking over and over. I was like, oh, she's so. I'm like, it's not to like make it all about her looks, but I was like, she's like an angel. Like, she just felt like this fairy princess, just. But then like sexy. Oh, and then Blue Ivy Carter came out, like, and danced her ass off. Like, just so, it was just cool. I could see Jay-Z from my seats. Like, it was just like a whole. Beyonce fans are cool as well. Like, I was just like, y'all are cool. That vibe's good. And then back. That was the big like summer. I didn't expect to go to Vegas at the end of August, but that's, sorry, Libra season. That's some last minute Virgo season shenanigans. So
I love it.
Yeah. If anyone ever gets the chance, whatever Beyonce tours again, just do it. Don't get that CC or go to Vegas or find the way, find the way to Beyonce. You won't regret. I love her. I'm still at the show spiritually in my mind.
I love it.
Yeah, that was a big. And the East Coast, anything, what's happening on the East?
The East Coast was lovely. I went to New York and the Berkshires, and New York was like a kind of a quick, we flew in, we were there, we saw Billy Joel last minute. unexpected. That's what I was like, oh, okay, this is not not Beyonce, I will say, but
Yeah.
but it was
no, but I
still-
mean, still Madison
But-
Square Garden. That's
yes, I was
that's
like
sick.
Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden. We were trying to decide what to do. We kept this a very flexible trip because we knew we were like, it was kind of like cushion on other travel. We went out for my cousin's wedding, which was wonderful, and I'll get to that, but we had this New York kind of cushion, but we also didn't, like I said, we didn't want to plan too much. I knew it was Mercury retrograde, and also I'm pregnant, and so I didn't know how I was going to be feeling about anything.
Working with
but
the variables at play.
yes, but also we were like, we got to do something, and then Steve found the tickets, and it was like his like long residency. I don't know how long he's been, if it's been consistent, but we had been kind of like talking about seeing him a couple of times, and just we were like, I don't know, it's not quite right, but it was like Madison Square Garden. We got tickets
you're
tonight.
there.
We got nothing planned, so we went, and he played for like 2.5 hours. So many hits. I mean, just
The catalog alone.
Yeah.
And Taurus, royalty right there, you know.
The Taurus was present too.
I mean, the
He was
songs
like,
are so Taurus. Like,
Yes.
there's
All-
no,
all of it. I just was like, I'm so glad to know. I did. Wait, do I still have it? I was like, I did pull up the chart. There was some conflicting info, so this is not necessarily confirmed. Maybe I shouldn't even do it then. But Libra Moon, Gemini Mercury, Taurus Venus, Mars Taurus, Moon Mars conjunction. I mean,
sounds about right.
love. Rising, I found some mixed info, but I do like this Cancer rising, which I was like, that's why I was like, because it reminded me of Stevie's chart. That's when I was looking, I was like,
He's home. He feels like home.
He also was doing
the everyman.
Mhm.
Yes, he was very funny and was very like, the only real like effects or anything that they had was that the piano would spin, so he could be like facing different directions when he's
cool.
like at the piano. But I mean, it really has been a stadium tour summer. Sold out,
Mhm.
and like straight up behind the stage, people are like
Mhm.
so hungry and for concerts, so they're like, yeah, we don't care, we'll be behind, we'll hear it.
Yeah.
We're at the place, whatever.
A lot of mega shows, even like for indie or more like rock bands, like a lot of like right now Pixies and Modest Mouse are touring together, so you're getting like that bang for your buck, like
it's the like special occasion summer.
Yes.
special occasion summer.
Where it's like we're gonna see these people, we're going out. I will say Madison Square Garden I chalked it up to Mercury retrograde because it did seem like there was some construction going on around, but getting in and out was the most insane concert experience I've ever had. I've never been to a venue where it was like so, I don't want to say disorganized getting in, because it was like you went through the security thing, which was fine, but then it was like a free for all, everybody just heading. There was like no alternate pathways. It was like everybody went in one way and out one way, essentially.
Mhm.
And that was insane.
Well, it is
Yeah.
interesting about New York because I do feel like most people are on foot. And so it is that what we experience in cars, where it's like the parking lot was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, because everyone's walking. So it's just that like on foot part. Yeah.
Yes, I was like, this is next level wild.
Mhm.
And I will say, I feel like I've been to too many like boomer shows. Sorry to use this blanket term like that, but
He's in that realm.
Everyone on their phone, straight up. There was a woman recording like I was looking at the people in front of me that were having like 8-minute long videos where I'm like, what are you gonna do with this footage? This better be online somewhere. I'm sure you could look up Billy Joel at the Madison Square Garden on YouTube because the footage is ample. There was a woman who
I don't think they know how to use YouTube. It's Facebook only, honey.
Mhm.
There was a woman
straight to the book.
FaceTiming someone the concert.
Oh yeah, that's a new more common thing I've been seeing.
also was like, hey, it's Billy Joel. What are you gonna be like mad about it? Like I couldn't even really be mad about it because it was so on the nose. But
well, especially when you're hitting these stadium big things, like we're all paying an exorbitant amount. Do whatever you need to do to feel like you got, as long as you're not bothering anyone else around you. What if living the Billy Joel experience is through the phone? That's I guess your calling.
Yeah, but it was very fun. I was glad that we did the surprise. And then the Berkshires are just like beautiful. It's like a kind of nature that we just don't get on the West Coast.
It looked pastoral, like very farm,
very pastoral, very farm. Basically everywhere we went there was just like a running water source by you, which I feel like also I was like, what is this? I'm not used to this at all. There was like one day when we walked from our motel into town and we just walked like along the highway and there just was like waterfalls and streams.
Oh my God.
And all this. And I was like, this is like more beautiful. This is like a tourist attraction in and of itself. And this is just next to the highway, like just lousy with beautiful, idyllic nature. But it was fun. I feel like I had it was very nice to see family and had a good time reconnecting. The wedding was really lovely and it was a
whole ass adventure.
Yeah, it was a good trip.
Well, I also went to a concert.
Oh
yeah.
Much known as emo night.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which is hilarious to go to.
Did you rock?
I did. I got on stage. It was pretty cool.
What?
I felt that when they said you could get on stage, I felt that gratitude for astrology in a way that not never, but like I seldom get to feel, where I'm like, oh, it's Venus retrograde in Leo, like I have to, or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I think there's just a part of me that like, even Scott was like, what are you doing? I'm like, what? It's going to be the first time I've been on stage. Like I get on stage every fucking week. Like I'm not afraid to they're saying you could go, just go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt very grateful to have the astrological instinct in my mind to be like, well, got to, simply must. Which was nice. And it was cool, I guess. I don't know.
Do you remember what was playing when you were up there? Like, was there a particular artist going?
There was a few. It was definitely like Paramore and Papa Roach and a couple something else too. I don't really know. But it was just up there for a little while and it was cool. I found that I really don't. I think what I don't like about the music anymore is that I really have been enjoying like words as like meaning, and I do think that words are spells. And so I don't like this like everything's terrible, life is hard. Like I like
words of power.
I don't need that. Like, and not that, because I do think there is power in saying like I'm sad or I need something or whatever, but it's like I'm not in that place.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to be there and be like, oh, I really don't get this anymore. I definitely in high school and stuff, like I definitely felt that way. I don't fit in or I whatever. And it's like, no, I think I found my places. Like I feel a lot more secure and happy in myself. And it was nice to, even though it was kind of weird, it was nice to be like, oh, wow, like, like interesting. I'm not sad. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I'm in a group chat that we were called the Sad Bitches. We just updated to Sad BBs. And it's like, I don't want to be sensory, but I was like, I think constantly reading sad, like there's something sometime, and this is not always the case, but something like, if I keep seeing this, I think it's going to perpetuate a sadness for me. So I almost need to verbally trick myself with the spells and the other words and languages. And of course, this is a group chat, so I could, we switched from bitches to BBs. Like we softened it a little bit. Like sadness is a vulnerability state of like, it is okay to be sad. But then also and shout out to my sad BBs group chat of my dreams. But it is like, yeah, sometimes you're not in the like language space to take that in. or like even when people like love, yeah, like metal music chills them out or whatever. Like sometimes you want that extreme anger, sadness as a remedy or as like a soothing, and then sometimes like actually this is just making me more sad.
Our group chat, my one that I like on all the time changes so much. It's a bunch of comedians, and ours is normally it's like, truthfully, I hate to say this on air, but it is like someone's name that we're making fun of. Like whoever's hot Cheetos or whatever, and it's not one of us, it's like someone external. And it's happened before that like I've been at a party with the person, I'm like, I don't want them seeing their name on my phone, so I have to change it, and so it'll just get changed or whatever, and it just gets changed all the time. But it is interesting because sometimes people will be like, hey, this person's name actually triggers me, like I have to change it, sorry. It's just funny, and it's like a lot of times it's people we don't even know or someone in the news or whatever. It's just like, Gabriel Iglesias's like whatever, I don't know.
Hot cross buns.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like Chihuahua Quinceañera.
But it is like it just changes so frequently. So I do recommend
maybe changing
a rotating name.
A lot, and like doing a color change, the theme, you can do the theme picture, like doing a whole thing that makes it look cute and whatever. And
we always keep the phrase hotline. That has always been the consistent one because it is like a safe space of like, can I bitch? Can I, amp myself? Like it's like whatever you need the hotline for. But I like the idea. We're in a red theme, emoji theme right now. Maybe we'll update it. It's Libra season, so it's a good time to play with balance aesthetics and colors and aesthetic things. But one last thing, because I'd be remiss to not talk about Beyonce's astrology just a little bit, because the groups are out on if she's Libra rising or Scorpio rising. After seeing her in concert, after experiencing many hours of Beyonce, she's a fucking Libra rising, guys. Like she is ruled by Venus. She's ruled by that Libra Venus. Like also because I've seen a lot of clips of her trying to be like there's like a Nicki Minaj clip where they're doing the feeling myself. She cannot be mean. Like she can be fierce and she can be like powerful, but she does not have that like scary mean vibe at all. Like where she tries to be tough, and just like a too smart. She always bursts into giggles. She's a Libra rising. She already has a Scorpio moon, so Scorpio is fully supported here. And I saw some like Astro tweet that was saying, since with Virgo season, and she's like, please wear chrome for the Virgo, rest of Virgo time and for the rest of the tour. Since her moon, Scorpio is not happy in the moon spot there, and having silver as remediation for this moon that might be feeling, not always in its happy spot. I thought was like really interesting. Astro food for thought of also like why the silver and chrome and Renaissance, especially there was really cool visuals too of like this like loading I am not a robot thing, because she got this rap for many years of being like a robot and not a real person and like being really closed off. And I think she's really embracing her, even though it's a Virgo tour, her Libra-ness was quite on display in this time. That's my case, Your Honor.
When does the tour end?
Think she had like a few rescheduled shows, so I do think it is going to go into like the just beginning of Libra season. I think September 27th maybe.
So she'll be straddling the vibe all the way through. It'll be cool.
Totally. But yeah, I'm voting. I'm going Libra rising.
I agree.
Can someone give us
You heard it here first.
I'm calling
this astrologer says Libra rising.
I think it just makes sense. And I guess maybe she could be, she does have this Leo Mars in the 10th. So if we want to go like, whether it's Mars or Plutonian, like I do get like why Scorpios and people with outer planet rulers would be like, oh, so we all have this planetary ruler. So I don't mind looking at both, and I think Mars is going to give an effect for that Scorpio energy. But of course she has Leo fucking Mars in the 10th house. Like that's so, everything about her chart is just so Beyonce. But I love how like into her Virgo-ness she is. I mean, it is her sun, but it's really her only Virgo thing. Yeah. Which is, the sun's pretty biggie. We don't discredit it, but voting for the Libs.
Nice. Here for it. Well, speaking of, let's talk about the season. The name on everyone's lips.
That it girl. I'm that girl.
Yes, Libra season. Can't believe it's already here, but here we are.
Yeah.
We begin
Incredible.
the sun ingressing into
Incredible.
Libra on September 22nd at 11:50 p.m. Mercury is direct at this point. Venus is direct.
Mm-hmm. So what's your excuse, everyone? You better be getting your getting back in line, getting in balance.
Q4 begins, baby. Let's do it.
September surge. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
First transit of the season will be a Venus trine to Chiron, which, if you remember from our Venus retrograde episodes, I feel like was prominent there. So we're kind of getting a revisit there. And I think that that's interesting, starting off Libra season with something, both like empowering, but also a little like, I don't know, it gives cringe to me.
I mean, we're still in the shadows too.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, beginning Libra season is like kind of mellow, leaning cringe, and then the end of Libra season is mental. So just a spoiler alert for what's to come.
I guess it felt, the word that came to my mind was like tender at this beginning Libra season of maybe we're emerging a little bit from these retrogrades, coming back out, needing to be a little bit more, I don't know, not necessarily social, but other minded, even if it's just, of course we're speaking from a Western hemisphere perspective here, but like holiday seasons coming up, having to make those kinds of decisions.
No.
I know. But thinking about year end, not necessarily doing that, but like we're going to be inundated certainly in stores and all of this kinds of stuff. I don't know what that's going to look like this year, but it's there. I think that thinking of just mentally.
No, even if astrology or not, you're going to be reminded that the end of the year is coming.
Of the year is coming. So, what does that do? Who do we want to see? What do we kind of what situations do we want to create as we head into that portion? And following that, we have a Mars opposition to Chiron. So again, we're getting kind of poked. Again, this feels just a little tender, a little pokey, a little, I'm insecure or whatever.
I also think it's all of this, like the stuff that has been called basic so many times of apple picking and pumpkin patch and all of that stuff. And like, I think it's come maybe a little too early this year because I'm already like seeing it in stores and stuff. But I also feel like you don't have to hide that you like that stuff. You know what I mean? Even if it isn't the coolest, like most artisanal, whatever. Like you can just like a Starbucks latte. It's okay. No one's gonna.
All the Libras take a collective sigh of relief. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for permission, fellow Venus mommy.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think then on the 25th we get a Mercury trine to Jupiter. And I think that is to me that like, get the latte.
Get the thing that makes you feel happy once a year. Like,
give
it to yourself.
Especially because Libra, which we always talk about being this buffer between Virgo and Scorpio, like who doesn't have a higher bar than these Virgo Scorpio people, like want, the curation, the things, or maybe they're more leaning towards guilty pleasures, where Libra's never doesn't think that sort of realm of guilt, or is this cool, or is this, I think embracing the simplicities and cringe simplicities is just, it's such good Libra juice. And
it's cool.
It's so funny. Pumpkin spice season is Libra. Like, of course.
But it's cool if you have fun and enjoy it, instead of being like, so I'm thinking of a specific Libra person in my mind. No,
I'm just
I'll tell you off pod.
Okay.
But like, where if you're actually having fun and you're like, hey, take a picture of me having fun, instead of being like, no, can you, sorry, one more, and this, oh no, my thing looks like this and whatever. It's like, no, I thought we came to the pumpkin patch to come to the pumpkin patch. I didn't know we came to take pictures. If you came to take pictures, bring your friend that takes good pictures instead of the husband, boyfriend, partner that always like gets you at a bad angle or whatever. Like you have to
state your intention.
Be honest about what you're doing and also have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever looks great in a picture where they're like, you know, not having a good time. Like
that's a good reminder to watch us on YouTube because Lisa made a really good face, youtube.com/what's your sign podcast for the full video episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, Libra season plug a lug.
Get the visuals.
That made me think like if this is your sign to get that digital point and shoot camera, if like you have been wanting to maybe document more, but feeling that like people feel this a lot with like taking out the phone to take pictures feels like it's going to get posted. So like if you want to make more memories or capture that, like getting a camcorder, getting a like old school digi camera or a film camera or Polaroids, like, I don't know, just if you do want to like have that shared friendship commemorating, but it feels like, I don't know, phones and cameras combining have, you know, tarnished cameras vibe for sure. So maybe bust out this is just the camera.
Oh, that's a good thought. I like that.
Especially for maybe this goes on baby registry. Like I saw my friend who has a kid last night. I'm like, do you have a camcorder? Do you have photo? Like she'll show me her phone photos. She's like, I have this. I'm like, just leaving camera out, even around the house, just to get little life moments in this. It's just so, you know, I'm an over documenter. So, but it's just very sweet. And if you need like a new device, which is another excuse to go shopping for our Libra, if you need like something new to do that, I think, you know, again, this is just your permission, your sign. If you've been thinking about it, this is go get it.
Yes. On the 29th, we have a packed first week. We have a full moon in Aries. At 6 degrees of Aries, opposing the sun at 6 degrees of Libra. And we will, of course, talk more about this in depth on our Patreon episode, which we do every month, new moons and full moons, over at patreon.com/what's your sign podcast. Join us there, be an angel investor, and find out all about the moons. But I do think that this is our last, if you can believe it, our last full moon before we hit into eclipse season. I was like, oh wait, what?
Yeah,
I forgot. I truly forgot that was even a thing that happens.
Well, in our first Libra season with the eclipses in the Libra Aries axis.
For
new vibe shift alert, possibly.
New vibe. Same day as the full moon. We're also going to have a Venus square to Uranus, which is another. Has it been exact?
I don't know.
I don't think so because we've had it with Jupiter.
Yeah.
But maybe don't quote me on that.
I know. I'm like, don't quote me on that.
It's definitely been like close and squaring.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we haven't been sort of feeling that this whole time, but yeah, maybe this is our first exacto.
Yes. So I do feel like, you know, a reiteration, a familiar friend before we head into a unpredictable, unfamiliar time. But yes, again, we'll talk more about the full moon on Patreon. Save our thoughts.
And the following day, Mercury leaves the retrograde shadow on the 30th. So that's also, you know, clearing up space. I think definitely when we have the planets moving in forward motion towards the end of the year, we're getting towards eclipses and towards, like Stevie said, holiday season. So it's like it is a good time to start planning those flights, like looking at if we're going to travel, how we're going to travel, who we're going to meet up with, all of that kind of stuff before things start getting shaken up, so that we have like our baseline plan. We know where we're going. It doesn't have to necessarily be holiday related, but you know, end of the year, wrapping up stuff, anything you need to get handled. This is probably a good area to start doing it. End of September feels right anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. On that same day, we also have a Mercury trine to Uranus. Mercury is also direct, and I mean, I like that as you said that's the day that shadow phase ends.
The 30th,
yeah. I was like with that trine of like, okay, yeah, that feels very fresh.
And we've just cleared out with the full moon, so we've just like made space for what we're, you know, trying to bring in. And so starting to plan that stuff, starting your lists and moving that direction, I think is good idea.
Yeah. It feels like there could be those eureka, like, oh, like I've been baking, but what if I like I keep thinking the path is working at a bakery, but what if it's actually recipe development? Like it feels like you can maybe have like that breakthrough, and maybe like I'm coming back to like I think a lot of people are like, what is work life and money? And like there's still so much like financial uncertainty for so many people. I think it is finding the ways that best support, especially I know we'll talk more about the full moon in Aries, but like Aries is so trying something new and blazing a new path, and giving like the impulse, the first instinct might be the right one a lot of the time with Aries energy too. But then what's great about Libra season, and I think the whole season will be right for like if having a friend or a confidant you can bounce some ideas off of, or like get feedback, or like maybe someone is in that recipe development space, like how has that worked for you? So I think even calling to your community and support of seeing how things have been done before, if you're ready to do something new, but then also not everything is things, it'll be new to you, but it's not new to someone else who has that experience. So like calling on your people.
I like that. Following day, we get a opposition from Mercury to Neptune. And I think, I mean, not the following day, I'm sorry, October 2nd. I have them written down next. I was like, damn, Mercury's really cooking, which it is now that it is direct. And you can kind of see that, I think, very clearly in how quickly it's moving. And it made me very much think about why Mercury retrogrades are so disruptive, because we do usually have the speed of communication so quick, especially in Virgo. But on October 2nd, we will have a Mercury opposition to Neptune, which is one that we have been having already, a transit that we've had, an energy, certainly a dynamic that we've been feeling too, I think, throughout Virgo season. And so kind of having this there again is to me just kind of a reminder to like stay on track, stay on the course, keep the vision at top of mind. That we had that clarity. There might be some unclarity that came, or someone saying like, oh, that's a terrible idea, but not necessarily to abandon the plan there.
I also think it's I'm going with the planning holiday travel analogy, but like you're starting to look and you found the flight you want to take, and you're like, hey, can you pick me up at the airport? And the person's like, let me get back to you. And so you're kind of waiting. It's unclear exactly what's going to happen, but that Mercury's moving forward. Eventually, if the person you asked to pick up you at the airport is obviously going to text you back, they're like that level of person. So it's like, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of uncertainty in this for a moment, but it is going to pass. And like, we do still have the feeling of like safety and security in those things as Mercury is moving forward. It's not one of those things where it's like it's going to be unknown forever. Like, no, they're going to get back to you. It might be a pause or step back in the planning process.
I think when Neptune's far away too, I think that can be space to like if there's been even like self excuses or like self pauses or roadblocks, like it's almost like there feels like a clearing. Like the fog is as far away as it can be right now. So like what are you going to work with what you have that's like visibly in front of you, versus like maybe the ideas of like why that wouldn't work or why this would, like, it's kind of just getting to the really tangible things, especially with Mercury and Virgo, which is very earthy and like what's actually real and in front of me.
Exactly. Same if the person isn't messaging you back, you kind of go into that, well, would we take an Uber or fly away, or would we do this? And it's like you kind of do inherently go, what can I control? And then you get the text back the next day or a few days later and you go, oh, they actually can pick us up, so never mind. Or we have a backup plan already and thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, back to my Beyonce this. Like we even planned, because it was such a short trip, like let's land at the airport at the same time so we can go together, and like let's, that may, or I will wait the 30 minutes because I land before you so we can link up. So I think, just taking, if you can align it so it just makes the work easier for everybody involved, which is very, take a shot Libra themes of like, how is this going to work for all of us in a way that feels just and fair?
Yeah.
This is unrelated, but if anyone here knows how the plane Wi-Fi works over land, but not over water, please let me know why that is. I thought it was in the plane. Is it not in the plane? Is it
I
on
always thought
land?
It was in the plane.
But it doesn't work over water. Why? Give me what is it? Satellite related? Ghosts. You're right. Magnets.
Yeah.
It's ghosts. I
Too
think I
many
see
ghostly
strings.
spirits. Yeah.
The plane
Yeah.
is held up by strings.
Yes, exactly. I'm here for it. On the 3rd of October, we get a Mercury trine to Pluto. So I think that all of these things that you're saying are like, it could even just be like truly a day of miscommunication or a day of something. And then we get that kind of clarity the next day. I like this in Virgo and Capricorn. We'll see what that means for us in a broader social context. I also don't necessarily like those forces working together potentially. But I think in our personal evolution, I think that like we have these powerful Mercury trines first to Uranus and then to Pluto. That to me does really kind of reiterate a like change of attitude or a bolt of inspiration. This is an idea that's like churning and burning at this point, or something that's like moving forward, and I think that that's cool. That's all.
Super cool.
And I believe the 3rd is the day that we leave the Venus retrograde, which is interesting because the following day we get Mercury moving into Libra,
Or the shadow.
yes,
The shadow.
sorry, the shadow
I think
phase.
shadow's not till the 7th.
Till the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like someone said the 3rd the other day. Okay, that's fine.
It's in that zone.
We're recording this during a Mercury retrograde, so
Yeah.
please take all of my data with
Which
a
I
grain
was
of salt.
because we're taking this peek behind the curtain too. I'll click send on the text. I think United flights all grounded right now because of computer errors.
Really today?
Right
now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been.
It's been.
Yeah.
Is it janky American systems or is it Mercury retrograde or is it both combined?
Both. I think
We'll find out.
Yeah. So we're all right. So forget my.
Well, now let me try. No, yeah, it's
my
October
shadow.
7th.
No, you're right.
I just remember
You're
because it's
right.
my
the
1-year wedding
7th.
anniversary, and I went interesting.
Oh, sweet.
I went,
But Mercury does in fact move into the sign of Libra on October 4th at 5:08 p.m. So we're like getting into Libra time. I feel like I like that
Yeah.
trine. Again, we're just seeing like the speed of Mercury at this point. We've gone from 25 to 27 to a new sign within the matter of days. So Mercury is cooking. And I think that having these kind of aspects there we're having insights, we're communicating, things are moving forward. Mercury is back at full force. So remembering that. And I think that having it move into Libra might be a little remediation from how quickly we've been going, and remembering, I always think of the kind of like, it's not pushback, but like when you've read a book that like really blows your mind about information and you kind of like want to share it with everybody, but then people start asking questions and it makes you go like, oh, maybe this wasn't as simple as I thought it was going to be or whatever.
mhm.
Like remembering the other people, remembering that we are like in conversation, that we are going to have to answer questions, and not that that's like a particularly Mercury and Libra kind of thing, but it just makes me think of the conversation and the sharing and this, where it's like, we might be feeling really strongly at this point of view, but there are other people to consider and talk to. So let's see how this holds up in a court of law kind of situation.
I also think of like with Mercury moving from Virgo to Libra, I think Virgo is kind of this, if we're talking about, the way our intellecting works or the way our brain works, it's just kind of like, yeah, we're like firing on all cylinders. We're in go mode. Things feel like they're flowing. And then in Libra, it is a bit softened and it is diplomatic, but it is that reminder of, because it's not where Mercury's favorite spot is. It's like how difficult it can be to be diplomatic, especially if someone's pushing your buttons or like, saying something that isn't true, but you're in a situation where it's a person of authority over you, or, you just got a speeding ticket and it's like an officer that you're dealing with or something, where you're like, I can't like just yell in your face, a cab, or you know what I mean? You have to like sit and be diplomatic, and how difficult that can actually be. And it is, again, it's like internal Mercury stuff where you're like, on the outside, I'm going to try to be really nice, but on the inside, I am not thrilled,
Yeah. I mean, the Libra measured, what's the cool heads prevail sort of thing.
Mhm.
I think that's where, Libra indecisiveness actually can be also like the opposite of that Aries impulse, right? Of, well, no, I just let's hear all sides and take a day and like let me get my facts and then I can report back to you.
Mhm.
Which makes it's interesting now thinking of it, we're in air time, cardinal air time. And I feel like Aquarius and Libra have that in common, where Gemini's kind of like maybe a little different air energy in that mix. But anyway, just some air thoughts on
Mhm.
Libra as we're here.
No, for sure.
Yeah, and then it might even back to like air Mercury, like there might be more encouragement to have maybe some combos that you were thinking
Yes.
about during Mercury retrograde, Virgo Mercury time. That's like we have to, you know, talk about whatever it
Mhm.
is, the plan, the future, the holiday plans, like whatever it is that
Mhm.
is in your relationships, because it can often be very relational. And this is pre-cuffing season for a lot of people. So maybe it's locking it
Mhm.
down with the one you love. Maybe it's letting them loose. So you're not just holed up in wintertime with someone you don't like even that much. So
This is also
tread lightly.
Libra time. I feel like it's the ideating the Halloween costume stuff,
Mhm.
the resourcing, the, starting to build an idea, or oftentimes I feel like a partnership, group costume, couple costume type of thing where it's like, this is the time we're starting to put those things together, possibly
Mhm.
even buy them or get them ready.
Mhm. Mhm. On the 8th of October, we have a Mars square to Pluto, Mars in Libra at 27 degrees and 54 minutes, square Pluto in Capricorn at the same 27 degrees, 54 minutes. And that happens the same day that Venus moves into Virgo. We leave
Mm,
the shadow the day before, and now we are out of Leo Venus.
damn. It's been a while.
Yes. But I think that that's interesting, kind of Venus and Virgo, where it's not as happy necessarily, at least technically, traditionally speaking. But I do think having a Virgo Venus when we have Mercury and Mars for a few days longer in Libra, but we're having kind of that, like, I don't know, it feels grounding and supportive for having this air energy, especially as we're getting ready to go into eclipse season, and we will be in kind of eclipse at that point. um i like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting thinking of Libra, yeah, in those like, fall that I like my brain's a little fright, but like they're not happy in these home spaces with Libra, Mars, Virgo, Venus. But maybe I don't know, that's still information of if things maybe aren't operating at, its normal expectancy, or maybe it's like, oh shit, maybe I do want something that's not as traditional, or like or maybe I need something Virgo Venus wise that just supports me now, or like Libra Mars that feels like breezy and like not full of tension. Like I don't know, I think there's like a lot of reflection that can be when we have Venus and Mars, these very, it's Venus and Mars, like these are like our wants and
Mhm.
needs in a place that's a little tweaked, a little quirked up and different. And maybe that's giving us some tools to reflect on how we might want different things.
It's also gonna, the Libra stuff is gonna hit the node. The
Mm-hmm.
the Virgo stuff is gonna make, trines with Jupiter and Uranus, squares with or oppositions with Saturn and Pisces. So it's like we're gonna be seeing transits there. That's not always the case when something moves into a sign. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
it'll be activated, I think.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I mean, right away, next day, October 9th, we do get a Venus opposition to Saturn. So I think that like, yeah, that's making me think, and maybe this is the Halloween costume thing, or the or holiday gift kind of thing of like, oh, here's the idea, here's the limitations on that, or here's how much that's actually going to cost. What maybe now I need to decide, do I want to like DIY this, or do I want to come up with a new idea, a new thing? Are we implementing a white elephant policy
I
this year because I don't want, because it's too, money's
It's
tight,
like
whatever.
buying that gift too early and realizing that the person can't return it, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. On the 10th of October, Pluto stations direct at 27 degrees and 53 minutes of Capricorn, and we begin our journey
I jaunt back to
back
Aquarius
to Aquarius.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
We're men.
When is it? I think it's January.
January. Yeah.
Mhm.
Our very slow Plutonian, crawl back
Mhm.
to 0 degrees Aquarius.
Yeah, I think it's like January through September 2024 while Pluto in Aquarius. And then, of course, before the election, it will go back to Capricorn and then we'll
see how that
We're
goes.
definitely wrapping out Pluto Capricorn.
Yeah.
Themes.
But I think that, keeping
Loudly.
that in mind at least in terms of like, again, I don't know if we'll see that on a personal level, but it does feel like support of, being realistic about your means, about what is power and influence over you. Are we, succumbing to the pressures of internalized capitalism or like post-colonial, not post-colonial, never mind. I'm gonna stop. But those ideas of like, is this a thing that's important to me, or is this a thing that is being sold to me and pressure that's put onto me that I am being told will make me happy when maybe it won't? And I think just keeping that in consideration with these kind of Q4 type plans. And again, I don't know if we'll necessarily feel that Pluto moves so slowly, but I think just thinking of it moving back into Aquarius, and that we are, just as a reminder that there are power structures that we are trying to kind of dismantle and move away from. And part of that comes from us, like recognizing the influence that it has in our lives and taking steps to kind of remedy that, so we can keep our eyes on the prize of what it is that is actually limiting us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Then we have
and then
Mars entering Scorpio, which is going to be where maybe it likes it, right there.
Yeah.
So
she does.
that'll be cool. And we'll see what that brings. I mean, we're really ramping up towards like election stuff.
Yes.
And getting, I think, it'll be just about a year out from the hard election stuff. So it is that like oppositional, fighty. Let's see what kind of, because that's the only thing I can think of adversarial in this time. But I guess it is also like football and
yes,
possibly basketball or something. I don't know.
Baseball championship season will be like wrap, I guess, depending on where we are. This is World Series time. But football is also going to be back, and football for sure starts this week. I like this Mars in Scorpio. I feel like it's also the first time we've had like a powerful Mars in a minute, because we had Mars retrograde in Gemini for such a huge portion. Then we had, right away we went into Cancer, and it hasn't, Mars isn't unhappy necessarily in Leo or Virgo, but I think we're getting a Mars, for the first time in a minute. And I think we're going to feel that, definitely thinking about, sports stuff, but also thinking about, like you said, Lisa, close in election proximity of like digging stuff up, of debates, of fighting, of all that. But I think also just our own kind of internal, depending on where it is in your chart, but I think having some fire, some drive, some motivation.
It feels like Mars and Scorpio, it goes off like what we were just talking about too, I think, and especially because right after this will be the eclipse. We'll get to that in a second, but coming from Virgo Venus time as well, it's like Mars and Scorpio feels like, are your needs being met in a very like, does it, Scorpio just, it's just we should get it, and I know Scorpio can be known for mind games and like kind of like breadcrumbing clues, but I think when it's home here, it's like maybe it's just telling someone straight up like what you want as well, like what your expectation is, how the, I think Libra was always encouraging of how like the division of labor, or the, how things are being split. And so I think, back to the cuffing of it all is like, is it, in very marriage terms, do death do you part? Or like, if it's like a no, that might feel like extra strong when Scorpio is so like in it and in like, and is that very ride or die sort of sign.
It's also like now I'm starting to get more of a grasp of cycles, and it's like if you're a millennial, you're gonna have a Mars Pluto transit, and so it is like maybe potentially getting your flu shot, or doing these things where it's like, oh, this is like maybe feels a little bit physical body type of thing, that for millennials, not obviously for everyone, but it is like, oh yeah, there's this like very vital thing transiting Pluto, then maybe it's time to like, make sure, get your health checkups. End of the year is, people like to get, if they've gotten their copay, they like to get their appointments so that they don't have to do another copay. So it's maybe making sure you can get that appointment before December or whatever, like all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next day after, on the 13th, not next day. I keep saying that because they're written in order. Sorry. A little insight into my ADD brain. On October 13th, we get a Mars trine to Saturn at 0 degrees of Scorpio for Mars and 0 degrees and 55 minutes of Pisces for Saturn. And this is, we haven't had a not exciting, but this like supportive, I like this supporting Saturn in terms of what we've just been talking about whether that's either, self-preservation or conversations about needs. How are we negotiating these structures? I think the emotional structures too. I mean, both of these I think are very kind of like not necessarily, I don't want to say indirect, but it is that like, okay, well then what are we really talking about? What's going on underneath? What's the real kind of like power structure dynamics that are the scaffolding of our relationships and our interactions and things like that, and talking about those things, adjusting them, seeing what's working, what's not, or just leveraging some of those things. I think some of that too, of just like the Mars trine to Saturn to me is also like a knowledge of self-restraint, an ability to kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to necessarily use the word manipulate because I feel like that has such a negative connotation, especially if we're talking about Scorpio placements, but also that like, I don't know, using the tension and things like that to your advantage, or being able to ride that out in a way that's helpful.
Yeah. Mars and Saturn, cut, they release. So I think too, it's water, it's like we're getting some like that watery intensity influence. It all just feels really leading up to this eclipse, but also like, yeah, where are we? Maybe if we've been holding anything in, or if there's something you want to share. Of also, especially Mars and Saturn are such builders too. Like they cut so they can build and focus on what they actually are there to do. So it's back to that kind of cutting the fat of like, maybe it's a fight that needs to happen, or like a thing like, hey, we never talked about the energy, water, take a shot, the energy. Like let's like dig.
It feels like a power wash.
Totally.
Or just like, yeah,
skip that meeting because we got work to do today. We'll meet another time. We've got shit to build today. Yeah.
On the 14th, then we've been mentioning it. We get the solar eclipse in Libra at 21 degrees and 8 minutes.
Our first Libra.
Our first eclipse since we've moved into the Aries Libra axis. This is exciting. I mean, we'll also go into more depth in this on our Patreon, but also eclipses are inherently unpredictable and kind of unknowable in that way. And so I think we shall see.
It is starting this eclipse window that we'll be in. So we won't get to it fully yet because the next one will be in Scorpio season, the final Scorpio Taurus axis eclipse. On the October 28th. So the 14th through the 28th, it just feels like that zone, right? Where anything's possible and probably will happen.
On that same day as the eclipse, we have a Mercury opposition to Chiron, kind of similar to at about the same, because Chiron is moving backwards at that point. It will be similar to that kind of like opening Libra season. So I do see this as being a like, I don't know, again, kind of tender. It could be something that we're insecure about, or finding confidence in something through this eclipse, or having that be something that kind of helps us through this, or is revealed to us, or just like healing. I don't know. I hope.
Mhm.
It's like the little sample ice creams, you know,
Mhm.
where you're like, oh, this is what's to come for 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna, let's taste it and see how it goes down.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. This kind of like opening thing around that. And I think that, in Libra and Libra energy or whatever, we want harmony. And this to me, an eclipse is kind of like imbalanced by nature already. And so what does that kind of bring up for us? Those ideas of, it doesn't necessarily have to be destructive or bad or anything, but I
Well,
mean, it isn't Libra, it isn't Libra balance, harmony, smooth sailing, kind of energy.
It might really be from the planets all moving direct too. I mean, it might really be stuff happening super fast. Things that you've been thinking about, planning for, have been on the docket. We've kind of this has gone back and forth, and it's like off to the races. Like, today is the day, like all of that kind of stuff, just like fully pushing things forward. I mean, good or bad, depending on what you've been working on and what you're looking forward to. But
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll see. But eclipse season begins. We'll see.
Yeah, I know. It's always
exciting.
Like, it's funny with eclipses because it is like, well, we don't know. I mean, it's sometimes it is things that are just so left field. And you're like, all right, and good in both good and bad ways. So
yeah, and again, this is opening up a 2.5 year cycle for us, and in this axis. So this will not be necessarily, if the eclipse day itself is not revolutionary for you, it does not mean that it won't be later, or that there aren't things that have been put into motion that we're going to see 6 months from now, a year from now, etc. But I think it will be, like you said, this is going to be our kind of little sample or taster of what is to come with this axis, and kind of give us some insight into that.
This story is really going till 2026, because the last lunar eclipse in oh no, sorry, I jumped to Virgo, and it's in 2025. The last one will be in like spring of 2025. So
I would love to see some like extreme forward motion and climate agreements and stuff. I think since Libra, it can be contracty and all of that kind of stuff. I know it's been talked about in zeitgeist, and I'm sure the government's probably not working on that, but I really hope they would be. It would be nice to be signing another deal of some sort like that.
Well, it'll probably go down because a lot more states are approving that the youth can sue based off of the future that are being left. And I think that's probably where we're going to see more things change.
Agreements start happening.
Absolutely.
More traction.
Absolutely. And that is, I mean, an unfortunate situation, but very,
like the only way people pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it certainly is in our American society, which is such a litigious one. It is one of the few ones where people do take notice and pay attention and feel some kind of something that's not necessarily right, but it is what it is. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
On the 19th of October, we have a Sun Mercury conjunction, aka a Cazimi. I think we've had more Kazimis this year than ever.
So many.
Ever before.
It must
Maybe
be.
that's not true. I'm sure
it's because those inner planets are retrograding, and they're the ones that travel close to the sun.
Yes.
Well,
exactly.
Ostensibly speaking, when we have the Mars retrogrades, they don't do it as often because Mars can travel further away from the sun. So
yes. So like I know it astronomically makes sense, but it just feels like we've had a lot. Anyways, this happens at 26 degrees and 34 minutes of Libra, when the sun and Mercury will be at the exact same degree in the exact same sign at 10:38 p.m. At least here on the West Coast. Adjust all these times, obviously, for your time zone. I don't know if I said that earlier on, but I hope you would know. I think that post eclipse feels
a little warm hug,
or also a potential to identify strongly with with an idea, with a point of view, which I think is something that we don't necessarily talk about with Libra as much, of the kind of stubbornness potential, or the like certainness, because we've heard all sides, because we feel fair and balanced in our assessment of things, that we feel like there is like a right kind of answer. And I think that that might be a point where we could get into that territory. But hopefully it's also a more just a reinvigorating, a nice day after maybe what has been a stressful weekend. A little reprieve. We'll see.
Yeah. Could be even just putting out the request for some more tenderness or connection, or, you know, like where, you know, Kazemi being in the heart of the sun, back to the heart of the matter of like who brings out those Libran-esque things and like makes you feel like yourself too. If we've been feeling like a little like, what the fuck has been going on?
Yes.
Maybe this is the day you tell your friends about the thing that happened on the eclipse, or your parents, or whoever you feel like will support you there.
Yeah. Yeah. On the 20th of October, we have a Mercury square to Pluto.
And then it's like, just kidding. Don't.
I know. It's like, okay. No,
or
but
maybe it might be a forcing to, possibly.
Yeah. I think that to me, I think is of a like, oh, here's what's happening. And this is, you know, what maybe I don't necessarily like this, but it's real. And this is the, you know, kind of I don't know. Those feel like two keeping up appearances kinds of energies potentially, where it's like, we can't do one without the other, or like we can't do one without the other. We can't keep up both things. We can't be harmonious and like, I don't know, moving forward, or being radically honest, or whatever it is. That causes, there is discord that has to happen in order for transformation to happen too. And real change, growth, all of that. And reiterated the next day, 10/21, October 21st, we will have a sun square to Pluto at the same degree, 27 degrees, 55 minutes of Libra and Capricorn, respectively. So again, I think just like reiterating the thing, here's the news. Now here's I wake up this day with this kind of like news being true sort of situation, if that makes sense. Like now this is part of not our identity, but it is like, okay, this is the new world that we're in, and how do we kind of go forward? That same day, we're also
it's the same thing. I think like when it happens, the Kazemi, you're like, I'm very solid in my ideals. Then we test the Mercury part, then we test the Sun part, and then we go, oh, was I solid in those things? How tempted was I to, you know, go against my morality or do these things? How easily did I give in? All of that kind of stuff. And then you get to know, really, after you've been squared on both sides, like then you get to know really where you stand, you know?
Yeah.
It feels just so appropriate from like the whole week ahead. There's something like the truth or the honesty or the conversation around whatever the matter is. If the truth jeopardizes the situation, then what's the situation? You know, like there just feels like I keep coming back to like corny reference of like people being asked to go back in the offices, but maybe their mom's at home, or they have like we've curated our lives totally differently the last 3 years. It's gonna be like, actually, like I can't do that. Like I've set up my whole existence in this different way for the last few years. So like, can we negotiate, or can we, you know, like we have to state what we need. Especially if it's going to throw everything out of whack.
That same day, we're also going to have a Venus trine to Jupiter, which feels nice, supportive.
That'd be nice support.
Nice.
It's like a systems go.
You know,
it may be things that might feel tense.
Where it's like, we're doing this hopefully, you know, values based, and it's in encouraging embodiment, I think, because it is Venus in Virgo and Jupiter in Taurus. And this also, I mean, maybe we will get some cool environmental news or something of that nature.
Hope so.
Hope. Yeah, we need it.
Stevie and I at the beach, we
cleaned
up so much trash, you guys. It was like really sad.
It was sad.
I mean, we had an amazing time, but
that's what made it sad. It was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Why is there a Jack in the Box cup floating in? I mean, it almost felt like a video game at a certain point. Like we were just catching.
There was so much
over
trash.
and over.
Oh my god!
I don't know if it was because of the recent like hurricane stuff
Yeah.
or whatever.
Winds
That
or
stuff was
wind and
getting
blowing
dragged
stuff.
out, but
Yeah.
it was like, oh, and a lot of people weren't doing anything about it. Some people were though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like. Well, also, I was just like, we kept getting like, is that a jellyfish? Oh, it's a garbage.
It's a
bag.
plastic bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then we saw dolphins doing like bottlenose dolphins doing like belly flops. Huge. We almost thought it was whales.
At first, we thought they were whales. They were huge.
Mhm.
Oh,
So this is also your sign to, and you know, I should put this in my cart. Like, I need a grabber. Like, I want to be
Yeah.
the person on hikes, you know, grabbing, picking up. Especially, I mean, for the beach, it's like, even if you just get that thing out of the water and onto shore, you've done it. Thank you. You know.
Well, it's also, there was like some meme thing that went around that was like, new human rule, everyone pick up 3 pieces of trash at the beach.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, if you're going on a beach day with 6 people, we should come out with the garbage bag. Like, that's, you know, everybody
Mhm.
grab a few things.
Yeah. Gaia.
I love it. That same day, the 21st is a packed day. Mercury moves into Scorpio at 11:49 p.m., which, I mean, to talk about getting to the heart of the matter. You know, diplomatic times are done, and now let's get in.
Do you fuck?
Now
with
let's
me?
dig. Yeah, let's
Y
dig.
or N.
Let's dig deeper, or let's you know, the die has been cast. Let's hold our tongue a little bit about, you know, whatever. Say what we need to say less. LOL. But I do think,
good reminder.
yeah, in that kind of, you know, let's be precise and you know, exacting with our words. Not so much that we need to, you know, again, maybe not as like fun, but I don't know. That feels,
no, our words might have pack a little more punch.
Yeah. And then once
mindful of people's maybe sensitive spots below the belt comments, I think sometimes can be very scorpionic of like, ooh, yes. I know exactly the thing that will get you to respond, because that's what Scorpio's really good at. They've seen you, they've been studying you, and they know like what will elicit what responses. So just use that power wisely.
And then same as the move from Mars, we're going to get a trine immediately from Mercury at 0 degrees and 39 minutes of Scorpio to Saturn at 0 degrees and 39 minutes of Pisces the next day on October 22nd. So I think, again, using your words wisely, using your observant, like not digs or whatever, but those things, I think that those can really be turned into useful things. But also words hurt and words perpetuate, and that, like, if we aren't be mindful of the impact,
the sting, the aftermath.
Is this something that someone might internalize and, you know, whatever, which again can be good to send us on kind of a building, adjusting sort of thing, but also like heavy if we're hurt people kind of vibes. I think coming in eclipse and going like, oh yeah, is this something that we want to perpetuate, or is this something that maybe, I think this could also be a very like creative time too, especially. I think that's going to be really useful in this like eclipse. If this is more internal, this could be more like, hey, that thing, let's paint something, let's write a poem, let's write a song about this, let's write a script about this, instead of
if we haven't seen strike negotiations maybe this is the indie stuff starting to, you know, define their productions, you know, all that kind of thing.
So maybe seeing some streaming numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. If
shocking.
We see
the
we're
revelations.
already seeing, you know, we're recording this still in Virgo season, but we're already seeing like Disney getting hit from their shareholders. So they're like, wait, how profitable are you? It's like, yeah, like we're unveiling the fucking truth, the statistics, the facts of the matter. Which, yeah, Libra is like, can be a lot of the idea and the concept and facts in a way of both sides, but then Scorpio's like, no, literally fucking tell me or I'll kill you. like, yep.
And that's
that's it. That's
it.
the seas.
That's it.
On the 23rd,
I told you it gets mental at the end of this Scorpio. Excuse me, Libra.
I really forgot about eclipse season. Truly was like, didn't even remember that was an option of something that could happen in a year. And I was like, oh, whoa, that's yeah.
Well, it's just been because we've been like, it's just been spring, fall for so long. You know, like we've been in that changeover Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Libra. It's like, I get it. It's like naturally processing, but it's like, yeah, it's spring and fall just really shaking shit up every time.
Yep. Making way for the next cycle. It's exciting. We'll see. I think it could be really,
I think this will be a revealing Libra season. I think we're going to get a lot more insights, whether it's personal, societal, or both, of what is happening and what we want to be doing, what we don't want to be doing. I think Virgo's given us, which we talked about, a lot of ripe room to think about what's happening and taking the inventory. And then I think a lot of decisions might be made for us as well, especially with the eclipses. Like things might just be like, oh, you're doing that. Oh, okay. Or like, oh, you're moving. Like shit. Like that decides some things. So working with what you got, but also being in conversation with other. But you'll be fine.
Happy.
You'll survive it.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
We'll do it again. And happy Libra season.
And now you can't blame Mercury, or you can blame eclipses, but
you can't blame the eclipses, but
not Venus nor Mercury retrograde.
Yep, retrograde time's over, and Q4 begins. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to, again, we mentioned both, follow us on YouTube. Watch these visuals, subscribe to us on Patreon for more in-depth about all of the new and full moons, including the eclipses. We know you're going to want to know about that, so find us over there. And thank you so much for joining us this season and every season. And we love you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.